All right, so here's how I would attach a handle. I'm gonna make a really simple coil handle. Just make sure your clay is really nice and plastic so that as you shape it, it doesn't crack. It might have some small surface cracks, but nothing major. I do flatten my coil a little bit because if it's totally rounded, it will roll out of your hand. So now I'm gonna place it on my piece and start to adjust the shape. I like to hold it behind my piece to sort of get an idea of where it should sit, and then I can use that almost profile to mark where I'm gonna cut it. So then I can cut it at the angle of my cup. You can see I might clean up those cuts a little bit, pat it on the table to shape, and then I'm going to kind of check my proportions and dimensions. It looked a little big and clunky, so I'm making it a little bit smaller. You have to kind of think about proportions to the cup and also proportions to your hand. I need to let this dry a little bit. You want to attach like to like, right? So the same dampness. I'm going to hair dry this. Moving my cup out of the way so I don't dry that more. You could also put this outside. Handles do dry faster. I want to play around with placement, make sure I have it exactly where I want, and then I'm going to hold it there and use my needle tool to mark where it lines up on the top and bottom. Now I know where to score. So I'm going to score pretty deeply because my clay is leather hard here, so it needs a really good joint. I'm going to add my slip, or in this, I usually just add water and then score again to kind of really get it into that score area. So you can see I'm really paying a lot of attention to that, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Making sure just it dried out, that I'm going to add a little more water, and then I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to press it on. I want to make sure that I'm not pressing so hard that I crack my cup, so I'm supporting it on the inside so I can balance that pressure, but I really need to press to seam it or to seal it together. I have some small surface cracks that I can smooth, but I notice that they're only small. They're not appearing to go further. I'm checking at all different angles to make sure that it's aligned where I want it to be. If there's any tweaks or anything, I can fix it at this stage. And so now I want to start to blend it together. I find that wooden modeling tool works really well for this. It kind of recreates your fingers in a smaller scale. And I do want to generally blend the joints, so it is harder to see where the joint meets up. Now if I start to do this and it gets too thin, I will add a teeny tiny coil like so. And so that allows me to add a little bit of bulk to reinforce that joint without blending and smoothing in the original handle so that it becomes actually even thinner and weaker at the joint. Keep in mind where the joint of your handle and cup meet is where the weakest point is, because that is where your most pressure goes when you pick up your cup. And a note on that, do not ever pick up your cup until it is fired. At least don't pick it up by the handle, I mean. To do otherwise is very risky. And so I'm just going around and just smoothing, and just again, it's a lot of small little things. I like to add a little texture to my handle, so I'm doing that here. This is just personal preference, and that's it. I'm going to wrap it loosely so that it can even out.